Hello? I'm going to do my checks and I'll be with you in a second. Hold on, please. First, I have to get where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Give me a second and we'll be ready to rumble. I hope you had a good day today. I'm planning on having a very good show today. Okay, we're there. And let me get the other one going and I'll be good. And let me just do this. I'm going to do my checks. I'm in the house. Excellent. My name is Len David Livesey, and I'm your full spectrum Gnostic, and I am in the house. And we have a very weird show for you today. We're talking about some things that a lot of people don't know about. We're talking about, uh, mystical creatures. Are they real? Do they exist? Uh, we actually have, I'm not going to say proof, we just have a lot of weird stuff. Okay. And we're going to talk about this. But on all the shows, I try to bring you the latest and the greatest of what's going on throughout the world and whatever, and try to enlighten you on things that you may not know about. So that is what I'm going to try to do today. Okay. Not to try to scare the hell out of you, but just to show you a lot of disturbing things. Okay. So this might be a little disturbing. But my name is Len David Livesey, and we're ready to get started. We're talking mystical creatures. Do they truly exist? And we have a guy on the screen. Who is this guy on the screen? This is the person we're discussing today because this person gets into a lot of very weird stuff. And oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay. The guy that's on your screen is Thomas Theodore Merlin. Now, officially, he was born in 1782 in England, in northern England. That is what his birth certificate says. 1782. He left to go on a trip in 1940 and never returned. Okay. That would make him uh, that would make him 100. In 1942, he went on a trip and never returned. That would make him 160 years old. People knew that he lived in his house for a very long time, but they said he always looked like he was in his mid 40s. Now, why are we talking about this guy? Because when he would go on these trips and leave his housekeeper to take care of his business while he's gone, he was very wealthy. In 1942, when he left and did not return, the housekeeper kept the house going until the housekeeper died. And then the house was abandoned. And then in the 1960s, the house was in very bad condition, and they was going to demolish the house. And that's when they started going through the house because they was going to knock everything down. And in the basement, they found a secret room in the basement. And in the basement, they found all of these cases, cabinets, drawers, records, diaries, everything. This is very weird. Okay. Now, before we start talking about, we do not know if this guy, maybe he wasn't immortal. Because this guy, according to these are some of the things that they found in some of his drawers. He had collections of things. The things that are in his collection, no one can explain. A lot of these things are creatures that nobody know existed. These are mummified remains of creatures. There's hundreds of them. And people was thinking at first that these was some kind of dolls or creations or models. They have done DNA tests on these things. These things are real. Okay. And in his extensive journals that they have went through, he names every one of these creatures by name and by number and talk about how he collected them and where he got them from. But even if you believe his birth certificate and him disappearing in 1942 and born in 1782, according to his writings, which are all done in first person, where he went here and he went here and he went to this jungle and he visited this country, his writings cover hundreds of years. And all of his writings are in first person, not second person, or he bought these things. All of these things talk about what he collected, how he collected, where he got it from, the part of the world, everything. But he's talking about countries that don't exist anymore. He's talking about cities that are long gone, talking about rulers that died hundreds of years ago. Okay. Nobody want to touch this. Now, they have now set up a museum for his creatures. Science don't want to touch this. No one knows. Again, they have done DNA tests on a lot of these creatures, and they are real. They're not wax. They're not modes. They are actual creatures that was mummified and put in boxes. Okay. This is just very, very, very strange stuff. But a lot of these creatures that he has in his collection looks like things that people talked about throughout history as fictional creatures. Now, maybe these things once existed and they went extinct. Maybe these things were real. Maybe these things are still real. And what's even more amazing is investigating him. Now, some people believe that his name is not real because when they look into, according to his reading and the places he'd been, it seems like there was other people who lived in some of the cities he named that went by a different another name that was a rich guy who lived in a big house who lived there for 60, 70, 80 years, and that guy collected specimens and this and that and had weird things, and that person disappeared and nobody know what happened. So they don't know if this guy, maybe he just had a birth faith. If you was going to live to be 100, 200, 300 years old, 500 years old, you know, people are going to start talking. So maybe he just moved around, and after a while, he would change his name and change his identity. He had a birth certificate. But according to his birth certificate, he was born in 1782. And when he left in 1942 to go on a trip, a lot of people knew him. They said he looked at like 40 something years old. Now, this is just, I am not going to say an explanation for this, but I believe we share our world with a lot of things that we don't know about. And a lot of these things that are called elves and fairies and gnomes and things like this, they just stay a hell of away from mankind because we are very destructive and we are very, very, you know, uh, if we see things like for there's lots of examples about things that people saw when the English and when the Spanish first came to the Americas. The Indians talked about thunderbirds, that was birds that could pick up a man, and these birds had a wingspan of 20, 30 feet. Okay. And there is some writings about when people first crossed the Mississippi River heading towards the west that they did counter giant birds. Okay. Today we say, oh, those were just buzzards. Okay, you get what I'm saying? See, we don't know. Now, a lot of these are called, fish tales. Because people say, oh, when I was out there fishing, I caught this giant fish or whatever. Everybody got away. It's like, yeah, whatever. But with this collection he has, you cannot say that because it's a collection. Now, are these creatures that are now extinct? Are these creatures that now live in remote places that we don't know about? Do these creatures actually coexist with us on the earth? Most people don't know that every year we discover, you know, dozens of new animal species every year. And in the ocean, we discover hundreds of new types of fish every year. Okay. Because we stay, basically the earth is one third land and 70% water. We all know that, right? But of the land, we only live on 30% of the land. But then that's not true. People are everywhere. True, if you go in major cities. But if you go, especially if you go live in Texas or any western state, if you're in Houston or Dallas or whatever, you're like an ant. But once you get to West Texas, it gets pretty scary. And once you get into, and I have traveled even in Mexico, you know, I didn't realize how bad it was until I took a train from Laredo to Mexico City. And you pass through all the towns and villages. And when you go to the Sierra Madres, especially at night, to be on a train that travels 5, 6, 7 hours and you don't see a single light, a single building, a single road, a single nothing. And it's just hour after hour after hour after hour of nothing. And that's not only in Mexico. Once you get off the main highways in America, especially in some of the western states, you're really on your own. And maybe there are things out there that we just don't know about. And it would make me feel more comfortable and you feel more comfortable after watching this show if we could prove that these are just some kind of wax models or dolls or this or that. Then we could all go back to sleep and enjoy the Lucy show and the Kardashian show and everything else in the football games. But how could these things be real? And how could he be collecting these things and writing about them in first person over a span of several hundred years? Remember, man doesn't live that long. We only live to be what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. If we're lucky, 100. This is crazy. There is so many things we do not know about. Not only we don't know about the hollow earth, We don't know about the hollow moon. We don't know about UFOs. We don't know about a lot of things, but even our own planet. Maybe there's a lot of things we don't know about. And are there actually people living among us? It's been rumored for thousands of years that there are people that can live. You can call them, I'm going to explain what an immortal is. Okay. But are there actual people that have lived, are still alive today, that been, can you imagine if you was 500 years old, you was around when Columbus first came to America, and you're still here today? Okay. And what happened to this guy in 1942 when he left to go on another expedition? Did the Nazis get him? Maybe immortals can be killed. Maybe the Germans, maybe he got captured as being a British spy and the Germans shot him. Okay. But he never returned. And the reason I believe he's dead, because even though his writings and his collection covers hundreds of years, he always seemed to be able, when he moved around and changed names, he seemed to be able to take his collection with him. Why would he leave in 1942 to go on another trip and to never come back for his collection? I think somebody finally killed him. Or maybe he just, the hourglass ran out of sand. Okay. Now, if he's the only one of these people, is there any other one of these strange people roaming around? This is very, 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 very scary. Okay. And now that people have started to look into him, they have discovered something even more scary. Remember, he lived in England for 160 years. He went to the university, he did this, he did that. He knew a lot of people. He was extremely wealthy. A lot of the other wealthy people he know, a lot of them did not, they disappeared. He knew some very big people in his day who was at the university or at here who had this title, and a lot of these people, that was doing the similar work that he was doing, and he was in communication with and writing with. Several of these people disappeared. So did they die, or did they just go to another location just like he did, and they just move around and they changed their name and whatever? And how old was actually this guy? And even after 160 years of living in England, he looked it like he was in his 40s, maybe early 50s. How old was this guy? Okay. Anyone got any explanation so far? And this is documented. Okay. When they went through his house, everything is there. They even know the name of his dad, his mother, everything. Oh, and let's talk about his dad. His dad was, see, a lot of these people that was doing this strange stuff, and a lot of his friends, they all had several things in common. They was all extremely wealthy, and they was all world travelers. Okay. And like his dad, who was extremely wealthy, that fought in one or two wars, and then he was doing his traveling also. His dad was a heavy drinker. And at the time, they didn't call it cancer, but his dad was sick from drinking. They called it the alcohol sickness. And his dad was looking for, discovered in some book. His dad went to Egypt and to the Middle East and discovered some ancient texts. This sounds like something out of the Indiana Jones movie. Okay. And his dad was also into the occult arts. According to people, they discovered something. Okay. And he was a member of a secret order. Well, you could just start a book with all this crazy stuff. This is really, 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 really bad. Now, what's also bad is about all these creatures he collected. I don't think he was going around collecting dead specimens. I think these things he was collecting was living specimens that he mummified. Okay. And in one of his writings, he wrote extensively. We're going to talk about one of his writings he talked about. He was in London, and there was reports of people being killed in a part of Eastern Europe. The name he gave of the country don't even exist anymore, so I'm not going to even go there. And the people was found drained of blood, and there was reports that there was a vampire in the area. So he traveled there, and after hunting for the creature, he discovered the creature and talked to the creature. And him and the creature traveled together to go back east because he was telling the creature he couldn't stay there. Okay. And according to him and the creature traveled to Mongolia. Okay. How can this be real? How can you go and there's a creature there that is killing people? And you're going to go there and talk to this thing, and you and the creature going to travel together? Is lots of very strange stories in his writings. If you don't believe this, you can Google this yourself. See, I don't like to talk crazy. Everything I talk about, you can look it up. You can Google it. I'm not talking about stuff about some rumor and there's some conspiracy theory. No, I'm talking stuff you can Google. So I'm going to even give you the spelling of his name. You can do your own research on this guy. Maybe you can join the secret order. Okay. Thomas Theodore Merlin. Okay. And there's a collection in England. You can go and visit it. They is a private collection, but they say you can make an appointment. Probably not me and you, unless you're going to, the secret about getting into the private collection. They're not going to let everybody in there. You got to grease the wheel and know certain people. What is that? Is that a vampire? Is that a butterfly? If that what? Now, you know Len Livesey. He likes to go back to the beginning. So the question is, how far back are we going to go? Are we going back to the Egyptians? Are we going back to the Assyrians? Are we going back to the Anunnaki? Where are we going to go back to? Are we going all the way back to the Bible, even before the Bible? Now, the Bible talks about that. Remember, when El left, El appointed 600 watchers to watch over the earth. Now, why did the earth need 600 watchers? I don't have the slightest idea. Why did the earth need to be watched over? I don't have the slightest idea. Don't ask me that. But 200 of them conspired because they saw that the women of the earth was fair. We went over what that means. Light skin, dark hair. That's what they like. And they came down and they took. Now we're into the book of Enoch for those who want to know where I'm going beyond the Bible at. The book of Enoch goes extensively into this. The book of Jubilees does too. That they came down and they took all the women they wanted. Okay. Okay. And giants was born among them. We know that. We know that part of the story. But what the book of Enoch and Jubilees go into, especially the book of Enoch, talks about something that the Bible doesn't go into. It talks about that after the sons of God with sinned with the daughters of man, then they proceeded to sin against birds, reptiles, insects, and fish. How do you sin with a reptile? How do you sin with fish? Don't even ask me those questions. But maybe that's how you get half man, half fish, mermaid, half man, half insect, fairy, half man, half animal. You know, you had these things back in Greek times that was half horse, half man. See, we're talking crazy stuff here. And it's not only in the book of Enoch, which is talking about this crazy stuff. When you get into Egyptian texts, the Egyptian text talks about how the gods would mix man and animal. And they would take the body of an animal and put the head of a man on the body of an animal, and they would take parts of an animal and put it on a man, and they was doing this thing. And this is why in Egypt you had these things that looked like half man, half animal. That is talked about that the gods was doing that. Okay. This is crazy stuff. Now we're back to the Bible again. This is why it said that when God looked down on the earth, he saw that all life on the earth was contaminated. It was unclean. That's the reason he wanted to destroy all life on the earth. I guess it was a whole lot of mixing going on. You know what I'm saying, don't you? But maybe they didn't all get killed. People will say today, but Lynn, they all got killed in the Great Flood. But if you read the Bible very carefully, it will say that there was giants in those days and after that. And in the book of Revelations, it says in the end, it will be as the days of Noah. I don't know what that means. Maybe the giants are coming back. Maybe they're already here. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they're in the hollow earth. I don't know. I don't have a lot of answers. I do have a lot of questions. Also, since we like to talk about stuff that a lot of stuff people are gonna say, but then that's just mythical stuff. You can't really go by that. Okay. Again, let's go by what the book says. I'm just talking about maybe this explains why some of these crazy things exist. And we maybe don't see them anymore. Because remember, Zeus was a lover of women. And Zeus kept making demigods, half man, half women. And Zeus was fooling around, which started a war on Earth between Troy and and Athens, which also started a war in the heavens. Okay. They thought this story was real, but they found the city of Troy did actually exist. In the war, Zeus was overthrown by his son Apollo and sent to the underworld. Remember, gods can't be killed. They're just sent to the underworld. Okay. So instead of killing somebody, you just send them to the underworld. You understand what I'm talking about? That's it goes. But anyway, and Apollo took over. And Apollo withdrew all the gods to his summer home beyond to his winter home beyond the northern wind. His summer home beyond the northern wind. Now, Lynn, why are you telling me this story? Because when the gods was ordered to withdraw, they did not want all everybody to withdraw. Some things was just too hideous. And this is why we have the story of Hercules. That Hercules had uh, to eliminate some of these things. Okay. And if he accomplished that task, which he did, he had to kill the thing that was a woman with snake hair. He had to kill certain ones of these abominations. Seven of them. And if he accomplished the killing of the seven abominations, he would be granted godhood. Okay. So maybe this is why we don't see a lot of these things today, because maybe they was withdrawn. And this goes along with American Indian lore. American Indian lore talk about that Turtle Island, America, what the Indians call it, was the land of the giants, and it was controlled by giant people that lived here. And at first, when the Indians arrived, they got along peacefully, but as the Indians' number increased, hostilities broke out between the giants and the Indians. And the giants started to devour the Indians, and they would kill them. But then, as the Indians' numbers increased, they slowly pushed the giants back into their caves. And they talk about the giants had red hair. And we have found in caves, not only in North America, but in several other parts of the world, these big skeletons with remnants of red hair. And pushing things into their caves are not killing them. Maybe pushing them into their caves mean they went downstairs. This may be why at the which I told you, Germany was into the occult, and and before the breakout of World War II, German scientists was all over the world, including in North America, South America, Africa. They was everywhere. They annexed a portion of the South Pole to Germany. And why was all these German scientists everywhere throughout the world? They was going into caves. They was looking for passages to reach the hollow earth because they was trying to contact people called the real that lived inside the earth. And they had their scientists exploring cave systems all over the world. I don't know. So maybe this is why a lot of these things are not around today. But books that was written, there's been books that's been written over the last few hundred years about people that have journeyed into the hollow earth or inside the earth. They talk about how there's lots of strange creatures there, how there's giants there. Okay. How there's giant crystals on the way there. A lot of these things that's written in books that are 100, 200 years old, we didn't even know about until now. We didn't know that, these books talk about inside the earth, there are crystals as big as tree trunks. Now we know that there's crystals as big as, because we discovered a cave in Mexico where the crystals are as big as tree trunks. But that was written in books hundreds of years ago. Some of these books talk about inside the earth, you have mushrooms the size of trees. Now, scientists know that millions of years ago, the earth used to be covered by giant mushrooms that was the size of trees. And in California, you still have a giant mushroom, which is the size of a tree. You can stand under the mushroom. It's in California. If you told me today, Lynn, there's a mushroom you can, that's a bunch of BS. Why don't you Google it? You can even go and visit it. See, we've been lied to about so much stuff, and why do they not want us to know about anything? You know why? Because the Cowboys are on every Sunday. Washington, the Steelers, the Patriots. Halloween is coming, Christmas. If they told us about all of this, what would this do for us? Is not going to make any difference. See, they got to keep our mind focused like this into the trivial and the BS. We can't be talking about weird stuff. We can't be talking about UFOs. We can't be talking about, somebody's talking about vampires. We still haven't talked about what this guy is. I'm going to tell you what an immortal is. Okay. They're still here. This is really bad. This is super, super, super duper bad. And how much of his collection have they not showed us? They are saying there's parts of they're only showing parts of his collection. And do you know why they're only showing parts? I don't know this for real. But see, most of the stuff they're showing are the size of insects or small stuff. He has some heads of creatures that are human size, where they look like things that are in monster movies today, where they have giant fangs, or some of these heads look like the whole face. He have these things that look like a human head, but there's tentacles coming out. He has stuff that looks like the movie Alien. That little crab thing on the movie Alien. A lot of these things they're showing us in movies may not be fictional. Remember, they have done DNA tests on a lot of this stuff, and this is real. They don't know what it is. They know what it's not. They know it's not plastic. They know it's not ceramic. They know it's not cow bone. Those are real muscle joints. Those are real tissue. The DNA doesn't match any creature known on the earth, okay, that we know of. Maybe he got them from Venus. Maybe he's from reticuli, okay. I don't think so. I think there's so much stuff on this planet we don't even know about. And if you go on YouTube and type in fairy videos or gnome videos or people have taken pictures of things with their video cameras and cell phone cameras of little creatures running across or little things or these little bug creatures that look like humans. People have taken all kind of stuff today. But of course, that stuff not real. We all know that. We have to keep saying that to ourselves so we can sleep at night. Okay. Because remember, we got modern science. We would hate to think that there's things in the world that looks like that. Oh my God, I wouldn't want to run across something that looked like that running across my living room floor. Now, we're running out of time. We only got 15 minutes left. What is an immortal? Immortals and vampires are very close. But man, that's not real. Let's go back to the Bible. The Bible talks about incubus and succubus. An incubus is a male vampire. A succubus is a female vampire. The Bible talk about incubus and succubus. They don't talk about vampires because that's not the name that they used back then. And if you want to know about incubus and succubus in Babylon, they talked about a lot about incubus and succubus. Okay. There's a lot of writing over there about incubus and succubus. Okay. And if you want to go into Jewish folklore, we know where the incubus and succubus came from. But it's just Jewish lore. We don't believe in Jewish lore, you know that. So, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. Okay. According to the Jews, Adam had two wives. Not one, but two. And Adam's first wife was named Lilith. And she was made out of the dust of the ground, just like Adam was. And she was equal to him in every way. They did not get along too well. The problem is because God put Adam in charge. That's kind of pissed her off. And according to the the book of I think it's the Jewish book of Sarah or something like that. You can look it up. They had a big fight over who was going to be on top, and she left. And after she left the garden, Adam was crying. So God sent an angel to talk to her. She wasn't going back. And after they warned her the last time of the penalty that would happen to her if she did not go back, okay, she still wasn't going back. Adam was still crying. God made Adam fall into a deep sleep and took one of his ribs and created woman, which was not equal to man. The woman was created to comfort man. Her name was Eve. And when Lilith discovered what God has done, he cursed God, Adam, Eve, and she made a pact with the fallen angels. And she made it with one of them. Okay, the head one. And her offspring, her blue blood offspring, is the incubus and the succubus. Now, you don't have to believe in me. You can read, it's Jewish folklore. But this is why you sing lullabies to your children. And this is why in the Bible it talks about for women not to wear, uh, uh, they used to wear little pendants. The women did. Okay. A lullaby is not a lullaby. It's called a Lilith by to keep Lilith away because Lilith steals children. And this is why children has to be protected. And people since the beginning of time have put little trinkets on their children to protect them from her. And these beings still live what a giant lifespan. See, we used to live a long lifespan, but our lifespan, we used to live 1,000 years before the flood. But our lifespan was shortened into chapters of 120 years each. That's why if you got a perfect body and take care of your perfect body, you live for 120 years. Incubus and succubus still are under the old rule. They live one giant life and then it's over. Their giant life is 1,000 years. And if your red blood is infected by their blue blood, they can either kill you because this is what's discovered about this creature that he talks about. Remember, he met this creature that was killing people and he talked to it and they went to Mongolia? Okay. He talked about that the creature did not have to kill and drink blood. The creature needed iron. And he told the creature what vegetables it could consume to get iron. And the creature agreed and agreed to go back to his home country. But who wanted to eat cold fruit? I mean, vegetables. I don't know which vegetables. He didn't mention what the vegetables they can eat, but they have to have an extremely high iron diet. Okay. So you have vampires that still like to bite on people. Now they don't. Since the war, which we're going to not talk about today, there was a war between the immortals and the vampires. The vampires lost. The vampires now have to buy their food. They're not allowed to go around biting people anymore. They buy blood like we buy meat. Okay. But the immortals, they need blood too. But they're civilized. They drink blood out of glasses. And the most famous of all the immortals is Saint Germain. He's been around for at least 700, 800 years. But they say he has now ascended. Okay. But who knows? I wasn't there. But we share our world with so many things we don't understand and we don't comprehend. But they would wish you never saw this. You do not need to know about any of this. And are these creatures still roaming around? Is this explained? You know, you could, as I said, you don't have to believe me. You can go on YouTube and type in strange creature sightings. And people talk about these strange creatures they saw in the woods, they saw in abandoned houses, they were somewhere and they saw this thing flying or saw this thing running or whatever. I'm staying in the safety of my house. I'm not going out there. I know that there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Okay. I don't need to go and look for it. Okay. Remember, I'm a Gnostic. I know a lot of things. Okay. I believe that they stay over there and I stay over here and we get along just fine. I'm not going where they are. Okay. They don't bother me. I won't bother them. Okay. But this is just to introduce you to a world you do not know about. And do your own research. Look into this yourself. There's a lot of information about this on Google. This is not fake. But, or you could just, I think there's a football game tomorrow. Okay. It's up to you. See, that's the difference between today and yesterday. See, Socrates said 2,000 years ago that once we fulfill our basic human needs, I've said this 1,000 times, of food, shelter, and clothing, our brains are supposed to start evolving. They don't want our brains to survive, to evolve. They like us being nice, dumb, and ignorant. Once upon a time, I was very nice, dumb, and ignorant. But I was very unhappy being nice, dumb, and ignorant. Now I'm knowledgeable. I'm not going to say I'm happier for it because now I know a lot of this stuff is not weird. I'm more. But I believe the truth have set me free. But I have paid the price. And the price I have learned for my knowledge is extremely difficult, which I'm not discussing. But, you know, if I could go back in time, I think I would do it again. But, learning the things that I have learned and the studies I have done have caused me a lot of happiness, have caused me relationships, have caused me marriages, have caused me jobs, have caused me a lot of things. But nothing in life is free. And if you want to know about things that you're not supposed to know about, you got to ruffle some feathers. And I ruffled a lot of feathers here, up there, and downstairs. But I'm still here. So remember, most Gnostics are either eventually go insane or are recalled. Okay. So if I just disappear tomorrow, you know, either I'm locked up because I'm insane or I'm recalled. Okay. But until that day comes, I will continue to investigate and look into things, and I will do my part because I do not believe in this thing of secrets that we just need to keep this stuff just for the few people that need to know, and everyone else needs to stay ignorant because this is not moving society or humanity to the next level. And if we want to get to the next level, if we ever want to be one with them, we have to open our eyes and admit that there's things in this world that we don't know about or we don't want to know about. Okay. And our world is not black and white the way we like it to be. And if we can't even handle strange things on in our world, and strange creatures that is a part of our world. What are we going to do when we leave our world? This is why, to me, this is so important. We have to open our eyes if we expect to leave this blue marble because life on earth does not go by our rules. And especially life beyond the earth definitely ain't going to go by our rules. And we're going to have to learn to either, for one, we don't even know what life is. And this is why we're having a hard time. And this is why we're going to have a program about this uh, next week. I shouldn't have told you this about what NASA is doing. NASA is going to start switching all their space probes to start looking for alien life and trying to define what alien life is. We don't even know what it is. And what do I mean by that? Because we keep saying to ourselves to have life, you got to have this, you got to have a heart, you got to have this, you got to have that, and whatever. But everywhere we look on the earth, we have found life inside of volcanoes. We have found earth at the bottom of the ocean. We have found earth in salt water that is so salty it should kill everything. And there's things swimming around in there. We have methane hydrate at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, which they said it was void of all life. Nothing can live in methane. But there's worms and all kind of, uh, crabs and sea creatures coming in and out of the methane hydrate. There's so much we don't know and so much we don't understand. And a lot of this stuff is just purely weird. But I will do my part to keep you up on what is going on. And if I discover something or whatever, if you care, I'm here to share it with you. I did my best to introduce you to something which was kind of weird today, but do not take my word on this. Google it yourself. Go on the internet. Go on the dark web. Oh, they got a lot of stuff there. Really scary. But remember, once your eyes are open, you can never close them back. My name is Len David Livesey. I'm your full spectrum Gnostic. Share this video with others. That's so cute. And I hope to see everybody again very soon. Watch the other shows on the Spirit Realm Network. You can find me on my Facebook page, on YouTube, I'm everywhere. I'm out of here. Thank you. Bye.